really appreciate your
Jon
assistance
Tisch,
once again to
breakfast.
bring together such an amazing group of men and women who represent the best of London and the best of the UK. You are all very good at what you do, and every morning at the Regency Hotel in New York, similar people come together for what we call, and started the term, a power breakfast. Many years ago, we in the United States wanted to make sure that everything was good between our two countries, so we sent you Ed Victor. And to pay us back, Ed and I were having breakfast a couple of years ago, and the Regency was closed for renovation. We were talking, he said, I miss it in New York. When can I come back to Regency? I said, well, we're going to reopen in January 2 years ago. And Ed said, well, the breakfast scene in New York is so important, let's do one in London. So much of the credit for this morning, and this is our third version, goes to Ed. Ed, thank you for your friendship, and I see the back of your head. We know that you're still with us, so sorry that Carol couldn't be here this morning. And it was Ed who kindly introduced me to Tanya. And here we are a couple years later with this wonderful relationship. Two people that I want to introduce, most importantly, is my incredible wife, Lizzie, who's at the cool people's table. Fashion industry. Lizzie has a wonderful fashion business in New York City, and so it's great that we're able to come to London together. Love you, and that she can be with some of her fashion people. And then let me go around the room, because we now, fashion industry. We now have a few Loews Regency hotels. The original, 64th Street and Park Avenue. I literally grew up in that hotel. I call myself the male Eloise. And I would go to prep school or come back to college, and my parents lived at the hotel, and that's where I grew up. So I have a real affinity for the Regency. It's 53 years old. It sits on 61st Street and Park Avenue. Once again, the term power breakfast started at that hotel. Dates back to the mid-70s in New York City. The city was going through a very turbulent financial time, and my father and other leaders of the city would get together to discuss how they needed to really pull together various elements, business, politics, to save New York City. And they would say, well, where should we eat? And my father lived at the hotel, as I mentioned, so he said, well, I just have to take an elevator. Why don't we eat at the Regency? And that is where the term that is now used globally, the phrase power breakfast, started on 64th Street and Park Avenue in the mid-70s. We now have expanded through Loews Hotels. We have been busy buying and building hotels, so that we now have 2.5 Loews Regency hotels. Let me start by introducing Simon Mays, who is the managing director of our property in New York City. Simon, thank you for being here. And then Loris, where's Loris? Loris is right here. Loris Menthe, who runs our Loews Regency Hotel in San Francisco. Prior to this event last year, we purchased the Mandarin Oriental, the former Mandarin Oriental in San Francisco. It is the top 15 stories of the third tallest building in San Francisco, so the views are staggering. And we renamed it Loews Regency San Francisco. Loris had been running our hotel in New Orleans. We moved her to San Francisco, and so we've established property in San Francisco, the Loews Regency. And I say a half because we recently bought a hotel in Seattle, and we're leaving the name that came with it, which is the Hotel 1000. And then we're going to renovate it starting the end of the year, and then that will become Loews Regency Seattle. So Loews Regency for us is a feeling, it's a sentiment, it's a way of expressing luxury, but not in a pretentious manner. That's how we operate all 24 of our hotels, but we're very proud of the Regency name, and that's why we are now expanding it to other properties around the country, and